everyone, and welcome to my studio. I'm Amy Nicole, and I have a brand new type of video for you today where I take you behind the scenes of my favorite vintage garments. And today I am talking about this little handmade vintage skirt. So I've had this series in mind for my YouTube channel for quite a while because I have so many fun vintage pieces, and one of my favorite things about a good vintage or thrift store find is looking at those unique construction details that you just don't really see anymore in today's world of fast fashion when it comes to garment construction. I feel like vintage clothing really incorporated some very unique and interesting construction details that just aren't done these days anymore. And recognizing those little details in some of my vintage finds is one of the funnest things about vintage clothing shopping. And I thought it would be really fun to take y'all along in my discovery process and highlight some of my favorite vintage pieces from my closet and really hone in on some of the details that make them special. So today I have for you a pretty simple vintage skirt. This skirt I got from a local friend whose mother passed away, and he was cleaning out some of her closet and found some really special pieces that he knew I would appreciate. And this was one of those pieces. And on the hanger, it looks just like a simple gathered skirt, but it does have some very interesting things that I really find unique and I thought y'all would enjoy as well. So let's head over to the table and take a little bit of a closer look at this simple vintage gathered skirt. Okay, so taking a closer look at this skirt, one thing I immediately notice is that it is handmade because we have the regular straight stitching here, and you can see that the edge was possibly originally pinked and then frayed, or just not pinked at all and just left raw. So that tells me that this was a handmade skirt. Also, you can see that the hem has a very beautifully hand-stitched blind hem that you cannot see from the outside, and it is very subtle from the inside. This is actually some very nice hand stitching work that I definitely don't have the patience for in my handmade garments. The fabric is a very simple light cotton. It is a pretty straightforward pattern of a gathered skirt. However, there are some details that really caught my eye and made me want to feature it in my first behind the scenes video. First of all, we have this closure, which is just not a closure that you really see anymore. It's basically a hook and bar, but there are different levels on this bar that you could hook to, depending on how big of a lunch you had. And this kind of bar closure, you really don't see. I don't even see it in the stores anymore. So I thought that was really interesting. The waistband is just a simple waistband. She did understitch here, and it looks like there is a center back seam. I'm not sure if that was due to a lack of fabric or conserving fabric, possibly. But my favorite part, so there are side seam pockets, and my favorite part is the way this pocket on the opening is constructed. So a lot of times when you have this hook opening on the side of a skirt, there'll typically be a either invisible or lapped zipper on the side seam. But here, the skirt opening is integrated with the pocket. So let me turn this inside out so you can see the construction a little bit better. So on the one side, we just have our usual inseam pocket, and it is tacked into the waistband at the top, which is really nice because it keeps the pocket from flapping around. But then on the opening side, the pocket is tacked into the waistband at the top separately from the front and the back. And the pocket at the top is open here to allow room for the skirt to fully open when you put it on. And then it hooks shut. And there is a second little snap here to keep this inner flap from flapping around. So then you have your pocket on the opening side look like this, and it's open here, which maybe stuff could fall out, but really it's all going to be weighted down in the bottom, so that is fine. But it's a very cool way to have a side opening on a skirt without having to insert a zipper. And the fact that this top part of the pocket is separated gives you plenty of room to get your hips into the skirt and then have the skirt be snug around your waist once you close the hook and the snap here, which actually these snaps they're not actually lined up appropriately. I just noticed that this doesn't lay flat, which is fine. She probably just eyeballed it. I do the same, as we know. So I just thought that this was the funnest little detail that, I don't know, maybe y'all have seen it before. I have never seen it before. This pocket opening into this side skirt opening into a pocket. So you get the side seam pockets. You don't have to incorporate a zipper into your side seam. Also, you don't have to incorporate a zipper and worry about the pocket and the zipper situation. And you'll also notice that the closure here is a little bit, so we have our side seam here and here. The closure is actually over here, which allows the skirt to lap over and cover that pocket and give yourself a little bit more coverage. So that is a very simple vintage skirt with a very interesting pocket closure detail. Okay, I thought it would be fun to show you one more time how this works on the mannequin. So we have our hook and eye or hook and bar, which covers the pocket opening very nicely. And when this opens, we have our pocket here. Just enough room to get in and out of. Snap that inner snap to keep the pocket hanging nicely, and then hook our hook and bar. Thank you so much for joining me here in the studio today. I hope you enjoyed that first episode of my behind the seams series. I will be combing my closet for the next garment that I would like to feature. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I thought it would just be fun for us to learn about vintage garments alongside each other. I most definitely am not a professional costume historian. I do have some costume fashion history background in my studies, but I'm very rusty. So forgive me if I have any information that is incorrect or misguided. And as I mentioned, this garment is quite simple, so I thought it would be a fun place to start. And I hope we're able to explore more interesting details in vintage garments in the future. Thanks so much for joining me. Let me know how you liked this video. If you think this is a series I should keep going, in the comments below. As always, happy sewing.